The load impedance and or the characteristic impedance are the complex quantities, as is usually the case. The deflection coefficient is generally a complex quantity that can be expressed as the magnitude of it and the phase of it, where you can see that mode of this is the magnitude and it is always less than unity. That is, the mode of this is always less than equals to 1. Note that theta L is the phase angle between the incident and the reflected voltage at the receiving end. It is usually called the phase angle of the reflection coefficient. The general solution of the reflection coefficient at any point on the line. The another thing which I need to explain here is that how you got this one is from this one, this relation, you need to bring it to this side, ZL divided by Z naught, and then you take the denominator to this side, and then you solve for V plus and V minus, and then when you will solve for them, then you will be able to receive the relation in this form. Okay, there's a direct way of doing is that something like that ZL divided by Z naught, and you add in denominator and numerator by 1, or you can say ZL divided by Z naught plus 1, and you write plus 1 here. Then what will happen when you take the LCM here, then these two terms will cancel out, and then you will have twice V plus V e raised to the power minus gamma L left in the numerator. Then you find the another equation by writing ZL divided by Z naught minus 1, and then you will have these as twice, and these will be cancelled out, and then you divide both the equations, then you will find that the answer will be coming in this form. So the general solution of the reflection coefficient at any point on the line then corresponds to the incident and reflected waves at that point, each attenuated in the direction of its own progress along the line. The generalized reflection coefficient is defined as this: V minus e raised to the power gamma Z divided by V plus e raised to the power minus gamma Z, where Z, if you see, is L minus D. So when we are using the complete line, then your basically Z is equals to L at the load. But if you want to find at a distance D from your load, then you will write it L minus Z will be equals to L minus D. So basically, let's say you are finding at this point. So everything has been calculated with respect to the line's length equals to L. Then this point will be denoted by L minus D. Then you put this there. So when you simplify it, it will be e raised to the power gamma 2 minus 2 gamma D, and you can write it as gamma L e raised to the power minus 2 gamma D. Next, the reflection coefficient at that point can be expressed in terms of reflection coefficient at the receiving end. So you can generalize the solution with respect to the already known solutions to us in terms of means these relations. Then it will be this one. Now, the conditions for a lossy line, both the magnitude and phase of the reflection coefficient are changing in an inward spiral way. You need not to know about how they are changing. The only thing is that it's explained here that how it changes in shape. And what happens in that in lossy line, basically your alpha is also changing and beta is also changing. So you can say it changing in inward spiral way, as shown in this figure. You can see that this part is spiral here. Then for a lossless line, alpha is equals to 0, and the magnitude of the reflection remains constant, and only the phase of this reflection coefficient is changing circularly towards the generator with an angle of minus 2 beta D. But when you have a lossless line, then only your beta is changing, alpha is equals to 0 for lossless line. So then it will be of this form. You can say the radius is always constant for it. Only the phase is changing. Then it is evident that the reflection coefficient at length L will be 0, and there will be no reflection from the receiving end when the terminating impedance is equals to the characteristic impedance of the line. Now, this condition is basically that if you have a characteristic impedance of the line Z0 equals to ZL, then there will be no reflection from the receiving end. Okay, but basically it's not the case always. So due to the terminating impedance, which is different from the characteristic impedance, means Z0, will create a reflected wave traveling towards the source from the termination. The reflection upon reaching the sending end will itself be reflected if the source impedance is different from the line characteristic impedance at the sending end. Now, we already calculated our reflection coefficient and we need to find the transmission coefficient. So a transmission line terminated in its characteristic impedance Z0 is called a properly terminated line. Otherwise, it is called an improper terminated line. As described earlier, there is a reflection coefficient at any point along an improperly terminated line. According to the principle of conservation of energy, the incident power minus the reflected power must be equal to the power transmitted to the load. So we can say that 1 minus reflection coefficient square at length L will be equals to Z0 by ZL T square. This relation has been from this point. Let's see here. So if reflection will be power, incident power, and reflected power. And if you want to find the transmitted power, then it will be this. So basically transmitted power will be equals to incident 1 minus this. So you have this reflected power, total power transmitted is P incident. So you subtract this. So when you subtract this PTR from, sorry, P reference from P incident, then you will get this relation. So this has been used there. So this has been used to get this relation. So we can say that T is basically transmitted voltage or current divided by incident voltage or current. That's VTR divided by V incident, or you can say with respect to current, ITR divided by INC. It shows the transmission of power along the transmission line, where P incident is the incident power, P ref is the reflected power. So this is your incident power will be on this side, going like this, then P reflected and P transmitted will be the power to the load. So let the traveling wave, if we are assuming that at the receiving end B, V plus e raised to the power minus L. When we are saying receiving end, it's here. So we are using the length Z equals to L. So it will be V plus e raised to the power minus gamma L plus V minus e raised to the power plus gamma L is equals to V transmitted e raised to the power minus gamma L. So if we divided it, this part with Z0, then at the receiving end, we can say that it will be divided by the load impedance. And when we will put these results in the relation of reflection coefficient at length L, we have this ZL minus Z0 divided by ZL plus Z0, which we already did earlier. Now, if we want to put the same equation in this one, then T will be equals to VTR divided by V plus, then the relation of T. So you have to remember this equation, that it will be gamma L will be equals to ZL minus Z naught divided by ZL plus Z naught, and P will be equals to twice ZL divided by ZL plus Z naught. Again, the power P INR is equals to P incident minus P reflected. So if you put this relation, it will be V plus E raised to the power minus alpha L. So the reflected power, incident power is your positive power with respect to V plus, and the reflected power will be V minus, which is your reflected component. So it will be V plus E raised to the power minus alpha L whole square divided by 2 Z naught minus V minus E raised to the power alpha L whole square divided by 2 Z naught. So the power carried to the load by the transmitted wave then will be with respect to your, if we consider the voltage there as VTR, it will be VTR E raised to the power minus alpha L whole square divided by 2 ZL. If we set P INR equals to P TR, which is your basically the case, then we have this relation derived here also. Okay, now these are the certain things given with respect to this, and you have to find the values by putting them in the equation. Standing wave and standing wave ratio. The general solution, standing wave, the general solutions of the transmission line equation consist of two waves traveling in opposite directions with an equal amplitude as shown in equations 3, 1, 2, 3. So these equations we have to use. And the next equation of it. And if we write them again, then we can write this component as cos beta z minus j sin beta z. This component as cos beta z plus j sin beta z. And if we simplify them for v plus e raised to the power minus alpha z, while we have a cos beta z outside, means common between these two. If I compare these two, then we have cos beta z common among them, and then we have a sin beta z common among them, or you can say we are simplifying them for real and imaginary part. Now if we consider that v plus e raised to the power alpha z and v minus alpha z are real, then the voltage equation can be expressed as Vs is equals to V naught e raised to the power minus j phi. That means this part is real, then this is also real if we consider these, both of these to be real. Okay, and the complex part then becomes this right hand side of the equation only. So this is called the equation of this voltage standing wave, where this is V naught will be equals to, if you need to find the amplitude of a complex number, what you do is that x, if suppose this is complete is x, this is minus j y, so the amplitude will be under root of x square plus y square. So in a similar way, square of this plus square of this part and it's root of this. So which is called the standing wave pattern of the voltage wave, or the amplitude of the standing wave. And if you need to find the phase, then this will be divided by this. That will be the amplitude, which is called the, the phase, which is called the phase pattern of the standing wave. Now, if you want to find the maximum and minimum values of these equations, then you have to use the method which we do in maxima and minima, which where we have to differentiate the equation. So the maximum amplitude is V plus e raised to the power minus alpha z plus V minus e raised to the power alpha z. So when you need to find so we differentiate this equation with respect to cos beta z, or you can say we differentiate with respect to z, not only cos beta z. Then we have the condition of maximum minima. So you will cos beta z is, when you differentiate, will be minus sine beta z into beta. So beta cannot be equals to 0. So when we say cos beta z is equals to 0 for maxima and minima, then basically we are differentiating cos beta z. So it becomes sine beta z. Sine beta z is equals to 0 at condition when beta z equals to 0. Or you can say beta z is equals to n pi. When beta z is equals to n pi, then this term becomes plus or minus 1. So this is what coming here. So n equals to, you have to apply your trigonometry here. So for the maximum amplitude, beta z will be equals to positive, means 0, 1, 2 values. Then it will become plus sign here. So then this is maximum amplitude. When it's negative, then you have to use beta z equals to 2n minus 1 pi by 2, means then again you apply maximum minima here. In that condition, you have to look it with respect to sine beta z. So then it will become negative sign will appear here.